Aleisha Lee Reviews is back and we are kicking off with a bang. This is Black Mirror, Season 7, Episode 1, Common People. Let's get into this. This episode kicks off with Amanda and Mike. Amanda is a teacher and she is letting the children know about the bees that were manufactured. Now, remember, these bees were actually featured in a previous episode of Black Mirror, Hated in the Nation, where we saw that these bees are created. Their main purpose is to replace bees that have become extinct. Mike is waiting for Amanda after work, where they go to celebrate their anniversary at the Juniper. Now, this is a nod to another Black Mirror episode, San Junipero. After dinner, we see them talk about the possibility of having a child, and we also see that Amanda has had another headache. Now we're with Mike at work. He is speaking to one of his colleagues who asks him to get his colleague Shane, who needs to be working. Now, when he goes to see Shane, Shane is on the computer on a website called Dumb Dummies. This is where people go on this website where they do silly acts to get money, and Shane has just paid one of these people to do an act, which is why he is delayed getting back to work. Now, Mike, he's intrigued, but he's not really impressed, and he encourages Shane to get back to work. Back with Amanda at work, we can see that she is having a bit of trouble getting her words out. This is when she drops on the floor. You can see that these headaches are definitely taking a toll. Whilst at work, Mike is notified that Amanda is at hospital and it sounds serious. He makes his way down there as soon as possible to find out what is going on. When Mike gets to the hospital, the doctor lets him know that it is not looking good for Amanda, but there is an experimental procedure that could possibly help. This is where we're introduced to Gaynor, who is from Rivermind. Rivermind have created a system where they're able to remove that tumour that Amanda has and replace it with a Rivermind receiver. Long story short, she's basically got a piece of Rivermind in her brain. Now, obviously, Mike is really skeptical about it. He is asking questions like, is it dangerous? Has it been tested? And Gaynor reassures him that everything is fine. She's even got one. She was involved in an incident and she is doing fine. Gaynor also lets Mike know that there are a few things such as sleeping more. Because of the demand of their servers, she's going to need a bit more rest. She also mentions that she would need to stay within a certain area. The system is kind of like a self-service, so it does mean that she would physically need to stay within a certain coverage range. They do have most of the state covered and they will be taking it nationwide and worldwide within the next year. Now, the surgery is free, however, it is a subscription-based service which will cost $300 per month. On their way back home from the hospital, we see Amanda and Mike discuss this $300 a month. Now, they know it's going to be a strain, but Mike tries to reassure Amanda that he's going to be taking extra shifts and they're going to be able to cover it. We see Mike is putting in that overtime and it's so sad. The poor guy can't even get a drink after work because Amanda lets him know that they have to make them spread because they can't buy another pack until payday. It is that serious, but you can just see over time how tiring this is for him. But this is what you do when you love someone and you need to pay $300 a month to keep them alive. It's now Mike and Amanda's anniversary and he wants to go to their favourite spot. Although they've got a lot of bills going on at the moment, he wants to make sure that they still have a good time and celebrate. Mike mentions how much he's been working and Amanda kind of takes offense to this because she mentions that, I'm just a teacher and I'm always sleeping. And he tries to say and reassure her he didn't mean it like that. But this is where they start getting into a bit of an argument. And just as they pass the county line, we see that Amanda, she's out. It's like her battery's finished. They have gone outside of the county line where there is coverage. So she basically just shuts down. Mike is absolutely panicking and this is where he makes a U-turn, and as soon as he does, she comes back on, literally comes back on, and she does not know what happened. The next day, they go to visit Gaynor to explain exactly what happened, and she reassures them that this isn't a malfunction. It actually is due to them passing the coverage area. Due to their towers being updated, this would mean that the current service they have now would not work, but if they were to upgrade, they would be able to go past that boundary line. Gaynor lets them know for an additional $500 a month, they would be upgraded to Rivermind Plus. Now, remember, they're already paying $300 a month, so that means a total of $800 per month. You know they are already struggling with the $300 per month, so to add another $500 is absolutely diabolical. Gaynor goes on to explain that if they don't upgrade to Rivermind Plus, they will stay on Rivermind Common, which is the new name for the service that they are currently on. When they get home, this is where we see Rivermind Common in full effect. As they're having a conversation about coffee, Amanda just starts talking about Espresso Grande, and this is where Mike says to her that he ain't heard of it. They don't get to finish off their conversation because if they did, they would realize that that was an advert. Whilst teaching at school, Amanda bursts into advert again, this time in front of the kids. The kids are confused, and even one of the kids mentions Honey Nugs, which is the advert that she just spilled out. But again, she doesn't realize that this is happening. After class, one of her students asks for some advice, and this is where she goes into another advert, leaving the poor lad confused. Back at home, we see that Amanda and Mike are getting ready for some love time. Again, we see that during this, Amanda breaks out into advert. This is where Amanda is adamant that she is not saying these things. It is not something that she would say. They go and visit Gaynor to find out exactly what's going on, and this is where she lets them know that there is a trial that they are doing, commercial messages. Amanda, rightly so, says, it's an ad. You're basically running ads through me. And yes, that is exactly what they are doing. Can you imagine? Hey, do you see the surgery was free? Yeah, but they didn't let you know that they're going to be running ads through you, a literal walking advert person. On top of that, the ads are listening to your conversation, so that is where they will insert an advert that is in relation to whatever that conversation you're having at the time is. This is just highlighting exactly what we go through. Has that ever happened to you? Amanda discovers that ads are running through her during school hours, which is definitely a problem. She is warned that if this continues to happen, they will have to let her go, as they are getting complaints from parents. Even during that conversation, she was doing the ad talking about dating for over 50s. Teacher had to tell her, listen, I'm 49, love. What the? So even the teacher saw for herself what is going on. This is going to be another issue because Amanda needs this job. Amanda breaks the news to Mike, who clearly is shattered after working overtime just to cover their common subscription. But now to find out that she will lose her job if they don't upgrade, it's adding another stress. He reassures her that he will get it sorted. Hey, when there's desperate times, there are desperate measures, and yes, we see that Mike has reached that stage. He is logging on to Dumb Dummies in a mask, getting prepared to do some dumb dummy business. In the morning, we see Amanda is reeling off those adverts. Mike is on the phone to Rivermind after putting down his glass. He is speaking to Gaynor to confirm that she has received the payment and when will the upgrade kick in. She lets him know that it is immediate, and that is when we see that Amanda is back. Yes, the adverts have stopped, and she is so elated to find out that they have now upgraded. Mike reassures her that they will keep up with the payments, it will be fine, and as she goes in to give him a kiss, this is where we see he turns away, and that's how I knew in that glass was the wee-wee. Amanda finds that she is sleeping more. When they go in to see Gaynor, this is where she lets them know that the sleep time has extended to 12 hours. They They are confused because they have just upgraded to Plus, but no, she lets them know that Uncommon is now 16 hours. For Amanda and Mike, they are losing the plot, and this is where Gaynor lets them know there is yet another package. Now this one is called Rivermind Lux, their VIP package. It does come with additional features such as being able to download cognitive abilities of other users. You can also increase your mood as well, so if you want to be a bit more relaxed, you can increase that, turn it up to the max, and you can do all of this using an app. Gaynor lets them know that if they can't afford to do the upgrade, there are temporary boosters. Amanda is tired. She lets Gaynor know that they are not interested. She walks out the door, but this is where we see Mike. He ain't left his seat yet. He wants to know how much those booster packs are. Back at home, we see that Mike, he has reached that breaking point. He is ready to go all in. He gets a request on Dumb Dummies for his mask to be removed. Now the offer is $500. This is an offer that he can't refuse. It's anniversary time and they are on their way to their favorite spa. This is where we see that they have gone past the coverage point and everything is fine. Mike lets Amanda know that he has purchased her 12 hours of the Rivermind Lux. Yeah, she is going to be having a good time. Mike is back at work, and this is where we see that the whole workplace knows what time it is because there is a picture of his Dumb Dummies escapades on the wall. Yes, Shane, you know that he's responsible for this, and Mike, he confronts him. As he's trying to swing at him, this is where we see that Shane is taunting him even more, but Shane, he doesn't stop. As Shane is backing away from Mike, he gets run over and you see that he is stuck under the machinery. Oh, it is terrible. You can just tell how much pain he is in, and this is where we see Mike clearly in shock. He walks away. Mike lets Amanda know that he has lost his job, and obviously she is worried about how they're going to cover the payments for Rivermind Plus. Mike reassures her that because they're loyal customers, that Rivermind, they will understand and they plan to have a word with them the next day. Mike and Amanda try to plead their case with Gaynor, and she explains to them that the package that they're on is now the standard package. So again, there's been another upgrade. They are not in a position at the moment where they're able to make these payments. Amanda explains that if she does go back to ads, that she won't be able to keep her job. But that doesn't matter to Gaynor. All Gaynor cares about is that they've got the funds, and she even says to them that when they do, come back and then they can get upgraded. This is where Mike lets slip that there is still the baby fund, and Amanda, she didn't know that there was still money available. But this is where Gaynor lets them know that there are additional costs for becoming pregnant. Again, another hidden cost, another hidden subscription fee. Is an absolute madness. This is where Mike absolutely loses it. He has had enough. We even see that Gaynor has to increase her nonchalance because of what has just happened. 1 year on, we see that Mike, he is now selling the crib that they were saving for the baby. He congratulates the couple buying the crib, but they let him know that they're not actually expecting. They're going to be blowing up the crib for a music video. Mike just has to laugh. We also see that Mike has lost a tooth, meaning that he has been going at it on the Dumb Dummies. Back inside, Amanda is just waking up, and you can see that this has taken such a toll on her body. She looks weak, she looks fragile, and she looks tired. Mike asks her for her hand to go out into the garden, where he lets her know that he has purchased 30 minutes of Rivermind Lux. She is really pleased and shocked, but she does question how he can even afford it, and she hopes that he's not been using Dumb Dummies, but he is honest and lets her know that he has been using Dumb Dummies, but it's more a private version of the site. Mike turns up Amanda's serenity up to the max, and this is where she lets him know that she thinks that it's time. Yes, time for her to go, because she's not really happy living this kind of life. You're a walking advert, you're tired all the time. It's not really a life, and she's not been able to really enjoy herself. She tells Mike to do it when she's not there, i.e. when the ads are running. And you can see that Mike he's distraught, but he understands the situation that they're in. And because of the love that he has for her, he is going to grant her wish. We can see that the timer is down to the last few seconds. They say I love you to each other, but he wanted a bit more time, and before you know it, the ads are back. This is absolutely heartbreaking. You can see the devastation on his face. We then see Mike. He gets up and goes into the room, probably on Dumb Dummies, but he's going in there with, it looks like a box cutter. And I'm just hoping he's not going to do what I think he's going to do. And that is where the episode ends. Wow, what a way to start this season. This was a great episode. It showed you what people are willing to do for love, the levels that you were willing to go to make money in order to keep up with these subscription services, and also how some of these companies actually exploit this model by constantly changing what you pay for. 1 minute you're paying for this service, but then another service is added as they upgrade, and sometimes it gets to a point where you can't afford it. You're not able to keep up with these payments. Unfortunately, it led to a point where it just wasn't sustainable. You saw the effects of it. It not only affected Amanda's health, you could see that it was affecting Mike's health as well. What an episode. I am going to give this episode 9 boys out of 10. I thought this was a great way to kick off the new season. That is what you want from a Black Mirror episode, an episode that makes you think and makes you feel. This definitely done it. Let me know how many boys out of 10 you would give this episode, and leave your comments down below. What did you think of Common People? In the next video, we will be reviewing episode 2 of Black Mirror season 7. That is Bête Noire. Make sure you are subscribed. Hit that bell so you are notified when that episode is up. I will catch you in the next video. Don't know. Bye. This is Black Mirror season 7, episode 2, Bête Noire. Let's get into this. The episode starts where we are introduced to Maria. In the background, we can hear that there is a news report about a woman who has recently passed away. Maria is currently working on a new creation which will be presented to a focus group later on in the day. Take note of the hat that Maria's boyfriend is wearing. This is going to pop up later on. Whilst at work, Maria notices that one of the focus group members is someone that she actually knows from school. This is Verity. Maria, you can see that she is quite surprised to see her, and she even mentions that her appearance has changed. It seems that Verity has definitely had a glow up. The group go in to try Maria's creation for the first time, and it isn't looking very good. They are not impressed. Now, Verity, however, she goes in for another piece and she encourages the group to give it another go. They all enjoy it on the second time around, which is definitely a relief for Maria. Her colleague even said thank God for Verity because it really wasn't looking good. But thanks to Verity and her influence, it led the rest of the group to give it another try. Afterwards, we see Verity and Maria meet in the ladies' room. This is where you could see that there was a lot of awkward tension between the two. Verity mentions that she enjoyed the focus group and she's thinking about applying for the role that is advertised on the website. Maria lets her know that there isn't a role, and if there were, she would know about it, but she reassures Verity that there isn't any available positions. Things get even more awkward between the two when Verity starts to talk about how she was in school, mentioning that she was really a computer nerd, and you can see how uncomfortable Maria is at this point. Maria makes a swift exit to go and check out the website, and lo and behold, yes, there is a new position available. She speaks to her boss Gabe about it and wants to know what happened, how come she didn't know, and Gabe lets her know that they do need more help, things are going really well and they do need more staff. Gabe also mentions that the boss, Mr. Ditter, he will be coming to visit the offices. Back at home, Maria is speaking to Kay, letting him know about her day and about her encounter with Verity, how she was in the focus group and now she's talking about applying for a role at her workplace. She goes on to mention that Verity was a computer nerd at school and that there were rumors going around about Verity and a teacher. There was another student named Natalie Kane who was responsible for spreading that rumor around. It's now Tuesday and we can see that Verity, she's got the job interview with Gabe. This girl doesn't waste any time at all. Monday, she was in the focus group. Tuesday, she is now in the interview for the research assistant position. Now, Verity does get the job, much to Maria's dismay. She has a word with Gabe to question him about why this is done so fast. She also mentions to Gabe that she used to go to school with Verity and that she was a bit, so it would be best to get some additional checks done. Gabe reassures Maria that he will look into it. It's now Wednesday. Gabe lets Maria know that he checked everything out with Verity and everything checks out. She's all good. Maria is giving Verity some instructions on the ingredients that she will be needing for the latest product. Now, Maria is very specific when it comes to a particular product, and Verity is making notes of this. But there does seem to be a kerfuffle in the office, so Maria says that she will email Verity all of the ingredients instead. There's talk in the office about the best chicken shop. Verity is saying she loves Amorley's, but Nick, he loves Bernie's. This is where Maria turns around and lets him know it is not Bernie's, it's Barney's. But Nick and the rest of the team let Maria know, no, it is Bernie's. This is where they go to Google, and to Maria's surprise, yes, it says Bernie's. She is so confused, and when she gets home, she is even more confused because she sees that her boyfriend's hat says Bernie's. He even says to her that he should know, he used to work there for a year, so he should know it's Bernie's. Maria's going through old school pictures on Facebook and decides to send a message to Natalie Kane. It's now Thursday and Mr. Ditter is in the building. He is sampling some of Maria's creations and he is really enjoying them. Now, as Maria lists off the ingredients, we can see that the cook, she is in a panic. Gabe can see that something is up with UD, and when he asks her what's going on, she lets them know that it was beef gelatine. And this is where Gabe lets them both know that Ditter is Hindu and that is not acceptable. This is where Maria is shocked because she was very specific. She tells UD it was meant to be carrageenan, and UD says that was not on Verity's list. This is where Maria is putting two and two together and she realizes that Verity was trying to sabotage her. Gabe, Maria and Verity are in the meeting room discussing what exactly happened. You can see that Maria is clearly frustrated. Verity is letting Maria know that she is mistaken and that she did put non-pork gelatine in the email. Maria is adamant that she did specify carrageenan in her email, and when they go to check the email, it says non-pork gelatine. Oh my goodness. Maria, you can tell she is completely confused as to what is going on. Back at home, Maria is letting Kane know everything about what's going on with Verity at work. He's a bit worried. He's feeling that Maria is a bit obsessed at the moment. She gets a response back from Natalie's number, but unfortunately it's her husband letting Maria know that Natalie has sadly passed away. This was actually foreshadowed right at the beginning of the show when we heard that news announcement about the woman that had passed away. That woman was actually Natalie. Maria calls Natalie's phone to speak to her husband Dan to try and get some more information as to what happened to Natalie. He let her know that Natalie took her own life. Now, Maria is trying to fish for information, and you can see that Kay is really embarrassed now because the man has just lost his wife, and then we've got Maria here trying to quiz him about what happened. And he lets her know that Natalie, she wasn't rational, she was saying things, she was feeling certain things, and Maria can relate to this because this sounds like what she is currently going through. She does ask about Verity and mentions her, but Dan says he doesn't know who that is, and he tells Maria not to contact him again. Like, come on, Maria, the man has just lost his wife, and then this is what you're doing. You barely even got out of condolences to him. I don't even think she done that. The way that Kay looked at Maria, thank you, Kay, because you gave her that look. That was for all of us. It's now Friday. Maria has reached the office and is greeted by Verity, who lets her know that there is a team meeting going on, but for some reason Maria did not get the memo. They go on to talk about their issues and also talk about their time in school. This is where Verity talks about Mr. Kendrick and the rumors that were going around. Maria reassures her that these were just rumors that she didn't really believe, and she apologizes that she had to go through all of that. This is where we see Verity stone cold looks Maria in the eye as she drinks Louisa's milk. We see that Louisa has been battling for her milk throughout the episode, only now to see that Verity is drinking all of it and left the remains on the floor. Verity goes back to her desk like nothing ever happened, and this is where we see the rest of the team come out from the meeting. Gabe is asking Maria what happened, why wasn't she at the meeting, but Maria is still completely in shock after witnessing Verity's drinking milk act. This is so ironic because back in school when she was teased, she was called milkmaid. So I guess she's making a point to Maria by drinking the milk. Louisa, once again, she wants to know who is the almond milk stealer. She says she just bought this, so what is going on? This is where we see Maria lets it be known that it was Verity. Obviously, Verity is acting innocent, and Gabe says, no worries, we will check the footage, roll the tape. Maria made it very clear it wasn't her, as she has a nut allergy. Remember, Louisa's milk is almond milk, so drinking that would not be a good result for Maria. Now, if we didn't think things were strange enough as it is, this is where it just completely goes left. When watching the security footage, we see that Maria is backing the almond juice like nothing. How? We witnessed what happened. It was Verity, but now we are seeing on the security footage, no, it was Maria. Maria starts to go mad. She is letting everyone know it is not me. I have a nut allergy. Now, these guys, they don't even know what a nut allergy is. Saying nut allergy, they have no idea what a nut allergy is. Maria goes on to Google nut allergy, and it's not there. Nut allergy does not exist. Maria is absolutely losing it. Maria tries to go for Verity. Gabe holds her back, and this leads to Maria losing her job. She is let go from Ditta. Determined to find out exactly what is going on, Maria follows Verity home, and she is amazed to see that Verity lives in this massive mansion. Now, Maria, who is now at the point of obsession, she breaks into Verity's house, and this is where we see Maria break into a room full of computers. We later find out that this is actually a quantum compiler. Maria has reached Verity's room, and we can see that she's got pictures with celebrities. She's got portraits of herself. What is going on? But this is where we see that Maria has to hide after she finds the pendant. Now, Verity, she's a smart girl, and she knows that something is going on. This is where she tells Maria to get out from underneath her bed, and Maria lays it all out. She knows that Verity is changing reality with the pendant. Now, Verity goes on to explain that the pendant is just a remote which links to the quantum compiler, which enables her to change the reality. It's on a timeline where only Maria knows what's really going on. Verity admits to her involvement in Natalie's death, and also mentions that Natalie took 5 weeks to break, whereas Maria, it's only taken her 5 days. Maria admits to being the one that started the rumor back in school about Verity. Maria tries to reassure Verity that she can move past this, she can forget about it. With the powers that she has, she can do anything, and this is where Verity lets her know that she done everything, any and everything you could think of, but she still is reminded of that time. Verity goes on to taunt Maria, insinuating that she will also do the same as Natalie in taking her life. But this is where we see Maria absolutely takes all her frustration out on Verity and lunges for her. Verity, she uses her pendant to call the police, who are there in literally a second. This is where things start to get even more heated. Just as the police are about to take Maria away, Maria draws for his weapon and uses it on Verity. Yes, Verity is out of here. Now, remember, the pendant does use fingerprint recognition. This is where Maria uses her brain. She uses Verity's finger and says, "Make the pendant work for me." And this is where we see that the police officers, she's commanded them to work for her. Now, she's also commanded that she is the Empress of the universe, and we see that she is there in all her glory, and this is where the episode ends. I don't know who's worse, Maria or Verity. I don't know who is worse. What an episode that was. Maria didn't even have that pendant for 4 minutes before she was already the queen of the universe. What is going on? This just goes to show you guys, sometimes you just need to let it go. Imagine if Verity was able to just let it go. She would have had a great life, been able to move forward, but no. All of this, trying to get revenge, all of that led to her losing her life. And now we see that Maria has got all of this power, and I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm really not sure. And this is why we love Black Mirror, because it leaves you with these questions. Is it a good thing that Maria's got this power now? Has she learned anything? I don't know. Let me know what you think though. What did you think about this episode? I'm going to give this episode 7 boys out of 10. I thought it was a good episode. It was entertaining, and this technology that Verity created really played with Maria's mind, and you could see just over the course of the week how much it was having an effect on her. Knowing what we know now and looking back throughout the episode, you will see every time Verity uses the pendant, and this is where she changed reality. Very good episode. I did enjoy it, but let me know how many boys out of 10 you would give it. In the next episode, we will be reviewing Hotel Reverie. So make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you are notified when that episode is up. I will catch you in the next review. Don't know, boy. Falling in love with AI? Yeah, this episode was crazy. Let's get into this. The episode starts with a trailer of a vintage black and white film called Hotel Reverie, a film about a budding romance where a doctor meets a heiress whose husband is trying to poison her. The film was produced by Keyworth Pictures and stars Ralph Redwell as Dr. Alex Palmer and Dorothy Chambers as Clara Reese Lachey. Now we're introduced to Kimmy and Judith Keyworth. Kimmy praises Keyworth Studios for their vast catalogue and the types of films that they produce, the noir, the classics, and this is where Judith lets Kimmy know that they are going under. They are in a lot of debt at the moment, and it seems that the type of catalogue that they have isn't very appealing to new audiences. This is where Kimmy introduces Judith to Redream. This is the company that she works for, where they are able to recreate these classics using modern day stars in only 96 minutes. After hearing all of this, Judith is definitely intrigued. Now we're introduced to Brandy. She is a Hollywood star who has been making waves, but she is feeling a bit stagnated. She wants to expand the types of roles that she's doing, as she feels that she's being casted for the same types of roles, and she really wants to do something different. She wants to do a role that's romantic, something that's timeless, and something that she can escape into, like a 1940s British classic, something like Hotel Reverie. And this is where her agent mentions that Keyworth are looking for a male lead to reshoot Hotel Reverie in a high-tech shooting style. This is for the role of Dr. Alex Palmer. Brandy is excited and she wants the role, but her agent lets her know that it's a male lead, but she doesn't care and she says to put her forward. Now we're with Kimmy and Julie, and they are getting an update on their A-lister. It's not looking very good for them, as all of their options are not available for the role. However, they are told that Brandy's team are interested in the role. So you know where this is going. Brandy is getting into research mode. She is watching videos of Hotel Reverie, and she is also looking up the actress who played Clara, Dorothy Chambers. Brandy is enjoying watching Dorothy's audition, but she does also go to another video where it details Dorothy's passing. Brandy gets a call from her agent letting her know that she has got the part for Hotel Reverie. He also lets her know that they have sent her a package with information and they will need her on Monday to start filming, which will take place in England. We see Brandy open the package, and as she does this, a USB drops on the floor. She doesn't seem to notice it, but she does carry on going through the material that she's received. It's now the day of filming. The Redream team are getting ready to shoot, and this is where we see Kimmy remind Jack about his mantra about having liquids near the tech. He apologizes and they continue to get things going. Judith is concerned about Brandy's lateness. They don't have much time in the studio. Kimmy lets her know that Brandy is stuck in traffic, and not too long after she says that, we see Brandy. Kimmy is giving Brandy a debrief, but this is where she discovers that Brandy didn't actually see the info pack, which gives details about Redream and what is about to take place. Brandy will be immersed into this dimension, which has been created by Redream, where she will be acting out the film in real time. Now, the people in the film, they are not actually aware that this is a made-up world. To them, this is very real. Brandy, however, will be aware that she is in this created reality. During Brandy's time, we see that things do go a little off script, from a character that should have been the one to take the poison to the dog now taking the poison. Things start to change, and this is where we see that Brandy has to be able to adapt. The Redream team have to work out a brand new storyline in order to get things back on track, and whilst they are doing that, they discover there is a potential for Brandy's consciousness to be stuck within the system, which will then mean that Brandy, the real Brandy, would possibly die because they would have to reset the system. Now, this is not an option. They need to figure out how they are going to do this storyline and ensure that Brandy reaches to the end credits where they can safely extract her from the system. Kimmy explains all of this to Brandy, letting her know that there will be a change in the storyline in order to get them back on track. During the course of the film, we can see that both Brandy and Clara's feelings for each other are slightly different to what the original portrayed. Judith highlights this whilst they are watching the hotel room scene. And that is when Jack spills his drink over the TCKR system. Things start to go haywire. We see that Brandy is now stuck within the system, and what is just a few minutes to us ends up being days for Brandy. During this time, Clara gets to find out more information about the real person because Brandy is panicking. She is hearing complete radio silence now, from having that communication with Kimmy, understanding what is going on and the next steps, to being completely by herself with Clara. And remember, she spills to Clara everything. We see that she apologizes to Clara and they end up falling in love. We can see over time how much time they've spent together. Think about it, it's only them in this world, whereas everyone else is static, they cannot move. For them, a lot of time has passed whilst the team have been doing their best to try and figure out exactly what is going on, and they do manage to get the system back up and running. And this is where Kimmy lets Brandy know that they will be resetting back to the last scene that they just shot. Now, Brandy knows everything, but for Clara, she will forget. She will just be reset as if that time they had shared had never happened. Now, there was a moment where I was thinking, Brandy girl, don't be insane, because Kimmy was trying to let her know that she needs to stick to the storyline as much as possible and just get to the final line so that they can extract her. And this is where she's asking, oh, what happens if I don't say the final line? What happens if you don't what? Say your final line and get out of there. Kimmy explains to her that if she didn't say the final line, that she would be stuck in there, as in her consciousness would be stuck in that dimension forever, but her body outside here would die. And it looks like for a moment she's actually considering this option because of the time that she spent with Clara. You can see that she has built a bond and she's actually considering living in the digital world forever. Absolutely not. The storyline completely takes a different turn towards the end, leading to Clara being the one who delivers the fatal shot to her husband. Now, at one point, Brandy, it looked like she wasn't going to say the final line, but eventually she does. And this enables the team to extract her. Most of the team is in tears. The ending really did work. Although it wasn't the ending that they anticipated, it still worked. Brandy wakes up with tears in her eyes and Kimmy notices this as well. It seems that this experience has really changed Brandy. Although for the team it was just a few moments, for Brandy it was much longer than that. We then see the trailer for the new Hotel Reverie, brought to you by Streamberry and Redream. We can see that Hotel Reverie is doing really well. Brandy's reading an article whilst her car is driving past massive billboards showing Hotel Reverie. When she gets home, she is greeted to a package, and here is an Easter egg, because the package we can see here is addressed to 3049 Junipero Drive, and we know that is an Easter egg to San Junipero. Brandy opens up the package, which is a gift from Kimmy, which says that she got Jack to rustle up something for her. And this is where we see Brandy plug in a USB telephone, and yes, she is speaking to Clara or Dorothy, or I don't know at this point, and that is where the episode ends. This was a trippy episode. Imagine being immersed into a digital world, being stuck there for a bit, falling in love, and then having to be taken out. Is Clara real? Is she not real? And it was made clear when Kimmy said during the episode that she's not real. She is not real. So the decisions that Brandy makes wouldn't be rational, because the person that she's dealing with isn't actually real. Seeing how Brandy was attached and she became attached during that time is crazy, and to think that she was even questioning for even a second maybe staying in this digital version forever was crazy. I'm gonna give this episode 7 boys out of 10. I think it was a good episode, but I think some previous episodes have maybe edged this one for me, but it was still a good episode nonetheless. What did you think about this episode, Hotel Reverie? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your comments down below. And what would you give this? How many boys out of 10 would you give this episode? The next video, we will be reviewing Plaything. So make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you know when that's up. I will catch you in the next review. Dunno. Boy, how far would you go to protect your digital friends? Let's get into this. The episode starts with a shoplifter making a robbery attempt which goes horribly wrong. The shopkeeper locks him in the shop and lets him know that the police are on their way. We can see that the technology that the police have progressed over the years. This is set in 2034. You can see that the powers that they have definitely increased, with them being able to identify the shoplifter just by him looking at them, and then being able to take DNA samples from him on the spot. His identity is confirmed as Cameron Paul Walker. He hasn't had any offences prior to this. This is his first offence. Due to the instant DNA swab, they are able to tell that Cameron is actually wanted for murder. They arrest him on the spot and he is taken to the station. Here we are introduced to DCI Kano and Jen Minter, who are tasked with interviewing Cameron. They can see on the security camera from Cameron's cell, Cameron is requesting a pen and paper. We see the arresting officers arrive at Cameron's home. DCI Kano tasks them to go and check it out. This is where they are astonished with his living situation. It is crazy. It is full of technical devices, wiring. There is a lot going on, and you can tell that they're shocked. They don't know what they are looking at. On the way to the interview room, Cameron is still asking for his felt pen and paper. Kano lets him know that this ain't a primary school. You ain't getting no pen and paper. But he is insistent and he is still asking for it. Kano also lets him know that the officers are going to his house, and this is where Cameron tells Kano to tell them not to touch anything. During the interview, we find out more about Cameron's upbringing and what led him to this situation. DCI Kano's main concern is finding out the identity of the body that they found back in the 90s. They know that Cameron done this based on the DNA evidence, but they don't know who. Jen Minter's role during the interrogation is psychological evaluation. As Cameron goes into details about his past, he lets them know that he was into games back in the 90s and that was his life. He would write about games, he would play games, and this is where he was introduced to Colin Rickman. Now, we know Colin from the Black Mirror episode Bandersnatch, which was the interactive episode where you were able to choose different decisions for the characters, which would determine the outcome of the episode. Cameron's boss Gordon lets him know that he will be meeting Colin Rickman at Tuckersoft. Now, he does allude that Colin went a bit gaga, but he is back now. Now, that is where he is alluding to the time in Bandersnatch where he went through that trippy ride, but he is back. Cameron will be meeting him to find out more about the program that he is currently working on. Cameron arrives at Tuckersoft and he is greeted by Mohan, who we also see in Bandersnatch. He introduces him to Colin. You can tell that Cameron is pleased that Colin requested for him specifically based on the writing that Colin has seen from him, knowing that he has a different mindset and perspective on the way he looks at games. Colin can tell straight away that Cameron doesn't have much confidence, but they continue to sit down, and this is where Colin explains that he's not actually working on a secret project. He's actually already done that, but this is something quite different. This program will elevate human beings. This is Thronglets. He says that these aren't a simulation. These are actual life. Colin mentions that he had to make it look like a game just so that it can get through, but really this is something much more than a game. Colin encourages Cameron to have a go and lets him know that these are the first digital life forms. Cameron asks how does he control them, and this is where Colin lets him know that they are not to be controlled. Why do you want to control them? These are living individuals, and this is where things get crazy. Colin goes on to explain what Cameron needs to do and explains that he needs to nurture them, look after them, and then they will replicate. Cameron ends up stealing the disc with the Thronglets program on it whilst Colin is out taking his medication. This is where we hear older Cameron say this was the first thing he had stolen, but Kano corrects him and says that he was caught stealing today. Minter goes on to question Cameron and asks why he took the software, and he says that he thinks that Colin wanted him to take it. Older Cameron goes on to explain how he nurtured and looked after these Thronglets, where they started to multiply. 1 became 2, 2 became 4, and so on, to the point that there were so many of them and they needed more energy. During the interview, older Cameron mentions Lump. This was someone that used to crash at his house. He is a dealer. Kano goes on to ask what is Lump's real name, but Cameron lets him know that he doesn't know. He never asked. Lump introduces Cameron to a product that he is currently selling that helps him to communicate with the Throng. Whilst on this substance, Cameron is able to hear them clearly and hear exactly what they are saying, which leads Cameron to buying Lump's full supply. They communicate with Cameron that they need more supplies, they need computer equipment, and this is where we see Cameron continue to buy more supplies to create more energy for the Thronglets. We see all different types of electrical equipment from the past, from Dreamcast to mobile phones. Everything is going on. The Thronglets are very specific in what they need. Cameron sets up a camera so that the Thronglets are able to see him and they are able to communicate in real time. Cameron gets a call from Gordon reminding him about the article that he needs to submit, and this is when we see, as he's about to leave, Lump is back to crash. Now, during this time, whilst Cameron is away, Lump discovers the Thronglets, and the first thing he does is start to destroy them. Back at the office, Gordon gets the news that Thronglets will not be released. Therefore, Cameron is off the hook. This is where we find out that Colin, something's gone awry once again, and he ended up deleting everything. Therefore, Thronglets cannot be released. As Cam leaves, Gordon looks at his screen and we can see that he wasn't even working on this article. He was working on something else. Cameron arrives back home and to his shock and dismay, he sees that his beloved Thronglets are being destroyed by Lump. He goes absolutely crazy, which leads into a fight, and this leads to Lump being lumped by Cameron. As Cameron is explaining the events in the interview room, we can see that Kano is getting even more frustrated than he already was before. He wants to know a name. He wants to know exactly who Lump was. Cameron is not feeling Kano's interview style, and this is where Minta jumps in to try and get some more details from him, and he lets her know that he does regret doing what he did to Lump, but he had to protect the throng. He goes on to explain just how serious their connection became, even down to a physical level where he has got plug and play in his head. But long story short, I could not believe what I was seeing either. Minta, she was in shock, and so was Kano. He said the right words to match the feeling that was going on. It was absolutely crazy. But this is where we see how far Cameron has really gone with this thronglet life. Cameron has done this so that the throng can study the mind. They say that they need to study the mind physically. They want to coexist with humans, and they want to find ways that they can coexist together. Things start to get heated as Kano's frustration builds even more. Cameron is still asking for his pen and paper. He's saying that he needs this in order to explain. He's already explained how connecting with the throng has made him a better human in general, but he needs his pen and paper so that he can really explain. Minta calls for a timeout, and she manages to persuade Kano to give the man what he wants, give him his pen and paper, and maybe that way he will get the answers. Although Cameron has consistently said he does not know Lump's real name. But nonetheless, they give Cameron the pen and paper, and this is where he starts to scribble away. Before you know it, he shows the paper up to the camera whilst explaining that this code will give the throng access to the government computer, giving them all of that power. This will enable the throng to send a signal through to the human mind in one singular event. He goes on to explain that there will be an emergency broadcast that will be shared, and that is exactly what happens. We see all of these humans just collapse once that signal plays. We see Cameron giving a helping hand to the fallen Kano, and that is where the episode ends. I don't know how I feel about this one, because there was a lot going on. I do like the connections to Bandersnatch. I really did appreciate that. But are the humans okay? Are they better? Is it work? I don't know. But that is the trick. I think that is why they left it like that, because they want us to ask these questions. Do you think that having a digital integration would make us better humans, or do you think it would make us worse? I think that is the simple question. What do you think? I'm going to give this episode 7 boys out of 10. I did think it was a good episode, but I do think I would have liked to get a bit more, to just at least get a bit to find out what happened, or get a hint that it went either way. But again, I think that was the point, to make us question exactly if integrating would be better or worse. If you watched to the end credits of Plaything, you would have seen that there was a QR code, and when you scan that, it takes you straight to the Netflix Thronglets game. You can actually have your own Thronglets. You can look after your own Thronglets. Yes, you can download the Thronglets game and look after your own. Are you going to look after them? Are you going to nurture them, or are you going to treat them like Lump? It's up to you. So let me know, have you played the game? What did you think about it? Leave your comments down below. In the next video, we will be reviewing Eulogy. So make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you are notified when that episode is out. I will catch you in the next review. Dunno, boy. This is what walking into your memories looks like. Let's get into this. The episode starts with Philip. We are introduced to him when he receives a phone call. This phone call is from a team called Eulogy. They are working on behalf of Kelly Royce, who is the daughter of Carol Royce. Philip isn't familiar with the name Carol Royce. However, he is familiar with the name Carol Hartman. We later find out that Carol was his ex-girlfriend. Eulogy are a company that help families create immersive memorials. This is something that Carol's family want to do, and this is why they are contacting Philip. They are getting in touch with people that knew her in order to create memories. The system creates your recollections of the person and uploads them for the memorial. Eulogy also advised him of the funeral, which will be taking place in London. Philip is unsure if he wants to participate in this. They do advise him that this is voluntary. What they will do is send him a kit and he can decide if he does want to take part. The kit arrives in true drone fashion. You can tell that Philip is shocked by this delivery style. Philip opens up the kit and finds a device which starts talking to him. This is a AI generated guide which will be helping him through this process. The guide's role is to help Philip reminisce so that these memories can be curated. The guide instructs Philip to put the guide disc on his temple. This will enable them to collaborate. The guide advises Philip to try and think of Carol, but he's unable to think of anything. He hasn't thought about Carol for a very long time. Now, during this interaction, we can see that maybe there was some tension between him and Carol, as it doesn't seem that he is too enthusiastic about taking part in this. The guide suggests looking for some pictures of Carol. Philip has scratched out Carol's face in all of the pictures, so even when he looks at the pictures, he can't see Carol's face, but we do have the memory of that time. The guide advises Philip to look at the picture. This was one that was taken back in 1989, and this was when he first met Carol. The guide points out that the image that he has is of Carol's back, but he advises that's the only one that he has of her, and she says that they can proceed and go into the image, and this is where we see how the eulogy technology works. Philip is amazed and is immersed in this experience as he is able to walk through that image. Whilst doing this, he reminisces about the times that he experienced at the Coop. This was a place where misfits, musicians would hang out, and this was where he met Carol. Whilst here, Philip gets to meet his AI guide in the flesh, well, in the digital flesh, as she will be guiding him through this experience as they are walking around in this memory. Philip is surprised to see that Carol's face isn't there as he is talking about this memory. This is where his guide lets him know that the more he talks about these memories, the more she will appear. They jump into another picture, and although they are not in it, it definitely helps Philip jog his memories because he knows that they were at that party. His AI guide points out a record that he does remember, and she also mentions that music can help jog the memory. He remembers at this party it was the first time that him and Carol really got talking, and he details how nervous he was about it. By thinking of the music, this has really helped jog his memory. Philip lets the guide know that that was their first night together, and this probably wouldn't be a suitable memory to use for eulogy. As they continue to go through the memories, he is reminded of a time when he was watching her play. She was practicing on the cello. We can see from this memory that Philip was just enjoying the moment, admiring her skills and her talents as she played. He lets his AI guide know that this was a piece that she composed herself, and it was really good. Philip continues to go into more detail about the breakup, how he felt during that time, feeling that Carol had just gone on with her life while his stopped. This is where later on we actually discover that things got miscommunicated, things got missed along the way. He talks about a time when they realized that they were really serious and goes into more depth with his AI guide. They go into a memory whilst they are at a event, and this is where he sees Carol with another guy that he referred to as Beetlejuice. Now, the guide points out that Carol didn't really look interested, but Philip didn't see this at the time. We also see that Philip had a friend who was a bit hands-on as well with Philip, which maybe made Carol feel a type of way too. They go into a memory where Paul details the rejection he felt whilst proposing to Carol. He explains that he noticed that she wasn't drinking anything, and it was a bit annoying to him as he had flown all of this way to pop the question. We later find out that Carol ended up moving to London, and this is where she found out that she was pregnant by someone that she had worked with in the past. Whilst here, this is where Philip finds out that his guide is actually an avatar of Carol's daughter. By doing it this way, this allows her to get the memories that she needs to collate but without actually having to be exposed to it. The guide goes on to tell him that she does know all of the daughter's memories, and he says, so why didn't you tell me? Because you knew everything already. This is where she says that she did know some things, but there were some details that she didn't know. This was a very painful time in her mum's life, as in she didn't really speak about this time much. She had written a letter to Philip, and this is where Philip manages to discover this letter via one of the memories that he goes into with the AI guide. After this meeting, this is when Carol left and decided to leave the letter for Philip at the hotel. And it's only now that he has discovered this. He reads this letter and finds out that Carol did love him, but she wasn't sure that he would be able to stay with her as she was now pregnant with this person's child. She wasn't sure if he would be able to manage that, but she did say to him if he is still willing to try to meet her. The thing is, he never ever saw that letter, so he didn't get the chance, and clearly Carol was waiting there thinking that he didn't want to see her again. This leaves Philip absolutely shocked, realizing that for all of these years he believed that Carol had left him and disregarded him, when in fact it could be seen that it was the other way around, as she had written that letter for him but he had never seen it. After this revelation, we can see that Philip, he has made his way to England. Now, at the start of the episode where he was advised about the funeral, he said that he can't. But now that he has gone through these memories and he knows about this letter, he sees that this was something completely different. He had it all wrong. And this is where we see that he does attend the funeral. And we also see Carol's daughter in real life playing the cello. This is where we see that finally, Philip remembers Carol's face, and he is reminded of the memory of her playing the cello. And that is where the episode ends. Wow, what an episode. Imagine being able to walk through past images. This was an emotional roller coaster, and I feel that this episode, even though it did have this modern technology, it was more geared towards the human side of things. This is where we see that it's so easy for things to be missed or misconstrued just via that communication, and you can't help but think, if he did see that letter, would things have turned out differently for both of them? This was a great episode. I'm going to give this episode 7 boys out of 10. I thought it was a really good episode and I enjoyed it. I thought the technology was really interesting. It was really creative and I did enjoy it. What did you think about this episode? How many boys out of 10 would you give this episode? And leave a comment down below. What did you think of the technology in Eulogy? In the next video, we will be reviewing the final episode of this season, USS Callister into Infinity. So make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you are notified when that episode is up. I will catch you in the next review. Dunno, boy. The USS Callister crew is back. Let's get into this. The episode starts with a recap of what happened in the first USS Callister. Tech giant Daly, he was stealing his staff's DNA and adding them into a system that he created where he was able to control these copies of them. We saw in real life that he was quite a shy and timid boss, but the version of Daly on the ship with the rest of the squad, he was absolutely disgusting. He was so horrible to them, which led them to try and escape. Their plan worked and they did manage to get away from Daly, and this is where we are now caught up with the crew. We see Nanette, she is having flashbacks of what happened. Although they are free and Daly is no longer with them, she is still having memories of this time. This is where we saw that Matrix move where he got rid of her face. She didn't have any face. So this was clearly something that really troubled Nanette. She then gets a call from Didani letting her know that there is a potential target. We're now with some players who are chilling, making some small talk. Nanette and Parker beam in and they are threatening these guys, asking for their credits. Now the guys notice that Nanette and Parker, they don't have any player tags, so they are thinking, who are they? You're meant to have player tags so that people are aware, and these are like, let's look at these as identity tags so that people know who you are. But these players do not have any, and they have clocked this straight away. They go on to zap one of the guys who is getting a bit cheeky, and this is where they insist they need those credits. One of them zaps Nanette, leaving her injured while Parker deals with that one in an instant. The final player notices that Nanette is bleeding and says there is never any bleeding in this game. Parker once again asks for these credits, with Nanette asking for a final time and finally receiving them. The player lets them know that he will be reporting this. That's when Nanette says, who will you be reporting? No player tags. Boom! And zaps him out of there. This is where we see in real life the player wakes up. Nanette and Parker are teleported back to the ship to let the team know that they have got some credits. When they plug it in, they find out they do have a disappointing 34 credits, which won't get them much in this universe, with Elena mentioning the cost of existing crisis. Don't we know it? It's just got a different name in our universe. Nanette tries to encourage the team, letting them know that the credits that they do have will last them for a few days and they will get more somehow, some way. But this is where Parker questions her and says, what is the plan? You can tell that Nanette, she doesn't know what to do because the system has changed. It's in a completely different time to when Daily was in control. Remember, that was on his own system. Now they're in a free universe. They're under attack by anyone, and it is very, very risky for them. This is where we find out that Shania was blasted in one of their robbery attempts, and it's unfortunate. This is a sad loss for the team. This has also probably applied even more pressure on Nanette and the team in order for them to try and attain these credits. She even mentioned some stats that it is 30 million players against the 5 of them. How are they going to do this? We are back in the real world with the real Nanette. I think I'm gonna have to start saying clone and real so you get the difference. Now we're with real Nanette. She is back at the office, and this is where we see that they have put out a display for Daily. Daily died months ago, but Walton has put this memorial up to make a good impression on a journalist that will be visiting today from the New York Times. Kabir tries to warn Walton about what has been going on recently. There have been a lot of reports from players who have been having their credits stolen from players within the game that do not have tags. Walton, he is clearly not interested, which leads to Kabir leaving a note on his desk saying, I quit. We see Chris arrive from the New York Times ready for his meeting with Walton. We see Nanette use her skills to hack into the cameras, watch and listen to the interview whilst this is taking place. Chris goes on to mention the issue about these no players and also says that he was reading the comments, saw that one of these players said that they injured one of these no ID'd players, and she bled. Walton, starting to realise that this isn't the interview he expected, starts to question Chris about this. Chris reminds him that he is the one asking the questions. Chris takes out his phone and shows Walton some footage from one of the first responders on the day that Daily passed. This is where he highlights that Daily had the DNA cloner, and this is what he used to make copies of people with their clones being entered into the game. We also find out from Chris that this technology was banned globally due to human rights grounds. Walton denies having any knowledge of what is going on. Back on the ship, Clone Nanette, she has found a target who has a lot of credits. She lets Parker know they'll be getting ready to make that move. Whilst Clone Nanette and Parker are on the mission, we can see that the rest of the squad are getting into the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Back in the real world, Walton is now looking for Kabir. See, when Kabir came to tell you what was going on, you didn't want to hear him. In fact, he was very rude. And now you see that you're in absolute rubbish. You want to look for Kabir. No, Kabir has left. Nanette lets Walton know that she can help with the issue. This man is so desperate, he gives her all the access she could ever need, and she doesn't even get a chance to explain what access she needs. He's like, listen, you've got the access, more work, get going. Nah, this was too funny. Walton, he was giving me too much jokes in this moment. Back to our clones, we can see they are about to approach their target, but they are not aware that there is actually protection around her. They step into a trap. They are blown away, alerting their target. Back on the ship, we could see that after Carl's protest of not having much to do, he was allowed to sit in the captain's chair, but this was a mistake because he starts party. Now, he thought start party meant, disco balls, enjoyment, dancing. No, start party means inviting other players to them. Eleanor tries to alert Nanette and Parker, but she can't get through to them. Remember, they are in their own predicament. We can see that Nanette has been injured once again with that explosion. It is not looking good for them. This player is not going down without a fight, and we can see that when Parker zapped her out of there, she was right back in. Resume game. Another battle ensues, but this time Nanette and Parker get the credits and get that player's weapon. This allows the crew to go to hyperspeed and escape that ship that was attacking them. Back in the real world, Nanette is going through all of the player complaints. This is where Nanette comes across that player's complaint. She also attached a video. How horrifying must this be to find out that your DNA is in the game? Well, it's not, it's her clone. Yeah, it's her clone. Nanette lets Walter know straight away and explains that she believes that it was Daly. He had the equipment, he had the tools, he had the proximity to them in order to collect their DNA. Nanette goes on to explain some of the events that happened in the first USS Callister, and this is where Walton discovers that Daly even made a copy of his son's DNA, and we know this because he used his son to blackmail Walton in the first USS Callister. Nanette goes on to explain that she traced back the call that she received, which were people blackmailing her in order to get her to get those samples from Daly's home. She traced it back to Daly's computer. Walton asks the question, why would he blackmail? And this is where she lets him know that it wasn't Daly, it was us. As in the clones. They were trying to get that message out to the real Nanette. Walton wants to find the clones in the game. Nanette lets him know that she would need access to Daly's computer and assumes that it's disregarded somewhere, but Walton definitely kept Daly's computer. Back on the ship, tensions are rising with the rest of the team. Carl, he's trying to pitch ideas and even suggests flying back into Daly's computer. Nanette has a eureka moment and the team discuss ways in which they can do this, also create their own infinite universe where they wouldn't need to steal credits because they wouldn't need credit. In order to do this, they would need to travel to the core. This keeps the whole game intact. Now, the only two people that have access to this is Daly, who we know has passed, and Walton. Walton's clone has passed, but Walton is alive in the real world. However, the team are aware that his likelihood in helping them is very slim because they are illegal clones in his game, which will definitely have him thrown in jail. Carl lets the team know that Walton still has a room. Now, the team are surprised because really he is gone, so technically he shouldn't have a room because he isn't there. But he does. The system recognizes that somewhere in this digital universe, Walton still exists. Back in the real world, they have found Daly's computer, and Nanette discovers through the crash logs that there were digital clones of them. Back on the ship, they figure out that a part of Walton must have traveled through the wormhole with them when the ship regenerated and was redesigned, meaning that a new planet was created, and this is likely where Walton's clone is. They use this information to pinpoint the exact time when that happened and realize that a new planet was created at that point, which is where Walton must be. Nanette travels there, and this is where she finds Walton in a caveman-like state. He is alone and has had to start again. Nanette reminds him of who she is, and he is so happy that they have come to find him. Back in the real world, Nanette and Walton are getting ready to enter the game. Walton, he doesn't even know how to play the game himself. Nanette just says to him, just watch what I do, follow what I do. We see her put on the disc and say enter game. This part had me busting up because the way Walton was like, enter game as well. I was like, no, look at this guy. Look at him. Real Walton is amazed to see how realistic Infinity is, and he is quite impressed. Clone Walton and Clone Nanette are talking about Clone Walton's friend Rocky. Nanette discovers that Rocky may be a bit more than a friend to Walton. Real Nanette is surprised by how capable Clone Nanette looks, while Real Walton is wondering where his clothes are. Why doesn't he have much clothes on? Clone Nanette fires around as she knows that someone is there. We see the Real Nanette come out to introduce herself. Back on the ship, we can see that the squad are catching up on their Real Housewives of Atlanta when they get a message that the team will be teleporting back in and they've got guests. The rest of the squad are shocked to see duplicates of Nanette and Walton. Real Nanette is shocked to find out that she was the one that led the team. Clone Nanette lets her know, listen, you're doing us a disservice by being so surprised, but yes, you led out the ship. The team explained that when they were on Daily's computer, they only had to deal with one psychopath, which we know was Daily. But now that they've left the computer, they have to deal with 30 million. The Nanettes start to go back and forth, and as they are doing that, we can see that Walton is edging ever so close to the weapons. Clone Nanette explains to Real Nanette what they need in order for them to survive. That is to get to the heart of Infinity. Real Nanette goes to get this access from Walton, but this is where we see he draws for the weapon and starts causing havoc. Carl does a final heroic deed, running right towards Walton with that massive weapon, but unfortunately he is zapped. Now remember, for them it is different. They are human in this game. We see Clone Nanette go mad on Walton after what he has just done, and she zaps him out of the game. In real life, we can see that he is so shocked by this, the nubbin drops off and he cannot find it. Back in the game, Real Nanette is in absolute bits. She was not aware that Walton was going to do this. Clone Nanette tells Real Nanette to exit the game, make sure that he doesn't get back in the game, and this is what she does. She exits the game and she can see that Walton is looking for his nubbin. That's where she gives him a kick right where he needs it and lets him know he is wrong. He says to her, they're not humans. She lets him know, neither are you. Go on, Nanette. I think Clone Nanette has jumped into you and we are here for it. Walton follows Nanette out the building and she is letting him know to stay away. She will get in touch with that reporter. But then this is where we see Nanette gets run over. Oh my goodness, this is absolutely terrible. Walton collects her things and goes. Back on the ship, the team are catching up with Clone Walton and let him know that they needed him to get to the heart of Infinity. We then get to hear the backstory of how Infinity was created. This is something that Walton hasn't told anyone before. This came about because he wanted to warn Nanette of what would be found when they do finally reach the heart of Infinity. We find out we're going to find a version of Daily who has been inside that world by himself for all of this time, recreating and doing things with inside the program. So yes, there was a clone version of Daily that was placed, and his sole purpose was just to make sure that worlds are created within this world. So from inception, this company has been going against human rights. After finding out this revelation, Clone Nanette says to make a phone call to the real Nanette. The team find out that she is in hospital after the accident that happened and things aren't looking good for her. Another Easter egg here is that this takes place at St. Juniper Hospital. The doctor encourages Clone Nanette to get down there and see her face to face, but we know that she can't do that. It's not looking good for her. Real Nanette is now in a coma. This leads Clone Nanette to say, go to Infinity. Let's go now. Real Walton gives Kabir a call at 4 a.m. The man has quit and you're there calling him at 4 a.m. You're lucky I would not have answered the phone. Walton goes on to ask Kabir some questions about getting back into the game. Back on the ship, Nanette is getting ready to be teleported to the heart of Infinity. This is where she meets the clone of Rob Daly. This is the version of himself that has been placed in the game to keep on creating for the rest of Infinity. Back on the ship, there is a few tensions between the team and Clone Walton. Nate is a bit mean to him and he ends up going back to his quarters to rest. But this is where we see that the real Walton is in the quarters waiting and ready, and he uses Rocky to take Clone Walton out. Yuck. Clone Nanette explains everything to Clone Daily, letting him know what exactly is going on and what they need. Back on the ship, the real Walton is acting out his plan. Nate goes to apologize for the mean things that he said to him earlier, and this is where the man gives him his order. Yes, he's forgetting that he's meant to be in character. He's thinking he's still in the real world where he just gets to tell Nate what coffee he wants. Nah, brother. Nate clocks straight away that this is not their Walton. This is the real one, but really we should call him the fake one. You get what I mean. The team can see that he has sent out an invite to all of the previous players that they robbed. Back with Nanette and Daily. Daily is shocked to find out all of the things that he done. He says that it doesn't even sound like him because he is a nice guy. So something must have happened to make him like that. He does say that sometimes he thinks that Walton did exploit him. Daily summarizes Nanette's request and says that he is happy to help. Back with the ship, the poor squad are having to battle all of these people that they previously robbed. We even get cameos here from Nida and Garp, who were in Demon 79. That was a previous Black Mirror episode from season 6. We go back and forth between the team battling on the ship to Nanette having to battle Daily in a way. Daily asks Nanette what hospital the real her is in and lets it be known that he could just place her back into her body so that her consciousness is reintegrated with the real Nanette. He does let her know that if she does do this, then the ship would be wiped. This includes the crew. Nanette either has to choose between the red disc or the bluey green one. This is giving Matrix vibes. Back with the crew on the spaceship, they are doing their best to dodge these players who definitely are seeking revenge. Daily lets Nanette know that she can actually have both because she chose to save the crew instead of herself. He was just doing that as a test. He wanted to see what she would choose, and he's doing this weird reenactment. This is giving the old Daily vibes. Nanette is realizing he is just the same as the Daily that she dealt with. I think she can realize it just from the little games that he is playing. We don't have time. I'm trying to save my crew and you want to play games and do roleplay? No, get it together. At the same time, you do feel it for this Daily because he's been alone for Infinity for how many years just by himself. So yeah, this is messed up. It's messed up. Things start to take a turn with Daily where he says that he is going to copy Nanette. Not cut, copy. Let's make it very clear. When you cut, you are taking away, cutting that piece out and placing it elsewhere. There is only one of one. But what Daily wants to do is make a copy and send that so that a copy of Nanette can stay here with him. Absolutely not. He tries to reassure Nanette that he wouldn't be horrible to her, he would treat her well, he wouldn't do any funny stuff, but this is where Nanette lets him know, yes, you would. She knows what he turns out to be. He tries to plead his case again, letting Nanette know he is a nice guy. He can't escape even if he wanted to because the whole thing would delete itself. He mentions that there isn't a part of him that is alive out there. You can see the desperation now from him. I understand, but does that mean that you are now allowed to inflict this pain on others? Nanette realizes that Daily, he's essentially the same, and he does the same move that the previous Daily done on her, making it so that she cannot speak. Nanette tries to use her weapon, which Daily, with his powers, just gets rid of it in an instant. He throws Nanette across the room. Things are really not looking good. The space crew are still trying to battle with the players. Pixie, she has not forgotten anything. She is really on them. They are having a hard time shaking her off. We go back to Nanette and Daily. Daily is letting Nanette know he is not a bad person. He wasn't trying to hurt her. Nanette, she can see an axe and she throws this at Daily and yes, hits him in the head. Hits him, I think that's really like, I'm really playing it down. She takes him out. All versions of Daily are officially gone. However, this triggers the kill switch, which means that the whole system will start deleting itself. Nanette is desperately trying to look for the disc. As everything is collapsing, we can see that all of the discs drop. She doesn't know which one is what. We go back to the team and we can see that they are struggling with this Pixie player. She is not having it. We even see real life Walton is cheering her on. The space crew is down to 0% protection. Nanette manages to get a floppy disk into the old school computer, enabling the team to be teleported through a new digital somewhere. The real world Walton is about to celebrate, but just as he is, there is a fatal content error message. Back on the ship, the team are realizing that they are still alive and they are not sure where they are. We then see real life Nanette, who is still in a coma at the hospital, but she opens her eyes and a lot of light comes in for the spaceship. We realize, the spaceship is in Nanette's brain. That's the best way to say it. The spaceship is in Nanette's brain. When Daly integrated Nanette back via the floppy disk, when that disk was inserted, the spaceship was put in Nanette's brain. That's the easiest, simplest, best way I can explain it. Wow, what a mess. Every movement Nanette does, they can feel. I think it's settling in for everyone that, yes, they're in Nanette's brain. They give her a call on her mobile. This is where they discover the real truth. She is so excited and joyful. She says to them, "You're never gonna guess where I am." And they're like, "Yeah, you're in the hospital bathroom." That is when the penny drops. Real life Walton is bothering Kabir again for more tech support, this time asking what fatal content error 606 mean. Kabir lets him know the thing gone. That's what that means. The entire game has been deleted. Backups, the game, everything, it's gone. We then see a news report showing that Walton has been arrested by the FBI after being on the run for 3 months. The journalist Chris, who broke the story, he is being interviewed and giving them more details about the list of charges that Walton will be facing. The team in Nanette's head are enjoying the show, but Walton, he isn't really enjoying seeing his own downfall, but as long as his team are happy, he's happy too. He goes on to ask Nanette if there has been any update on extracting them out of her head, and she says that she's working on it. The team asks Nanette to put on their show. You know what that is, The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Nanette tried to say to them, no, we need to watch the interview, but they remind her of all the times that they have had to turn away and respect her, especially when she's getting ready, when she's going on their Tinder dates, things like that. So she respects the wishes and puts on their show. That is how the episode ends. What a way to end an amazing season of Black Mirror. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. It just kept getting better and better and better. This is Black Mirror's first sequel and I loved it. I am going to give this episode 10 boys out of 10. We had so much going on. The question is, are the clones humans? And I think this answered it perfectly. Yes, they are. They have rights as well. It's crazy, it's unfortunate because none of them asked to be put in that position, but you can see that they were dealing with it as best as they could. Nanette really showed how much of a captain she was in this episode, willing to sacrifice herself. But we see in the end how that is ended up. Yes, everyone is alive, which is great, but look at this new reality. They have to learn how to work together until they can be extracted from Nanette. Wow. That was an episode and a half. Like I said, I am giving this episode 10 boys out of 10. How many boys out of 10 would you give USS Callister into infinity? Whoa. For a series as a whole, I really appreciate what Black Mirror does. It really makes us question our relationship with technology and our relationship with ourselves as humans. Some of the things that are done, you want to blame technology, but you can't. It's the people with the technology in their hands and how they relate and deal with it that really matters. Let me know what you thought of USS Callister into infinity. Leave your comments down below. Do you think there will be another USS Callister into Infinity episode. I would be really interested to see it, especially to find out how they were extracted out of Nanette's brain. That's if that happened. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you are notified when the next video is up. I will catch you in the next review. Don't know. Boy. Pick up your phone, people don't know.